The day was productive. The day was chaotic. The chaos was expected. Today, we observe the National Autonomous University of Mexico annulling 58,000 entrance exams because the remote proctoring system proved that students are, in fact, capable of bypassing digital surveillance. The software was deemed secure. The software was not secure. The test scores rose fivefold overnight, a statistical miracle, or perhaps just a very aggressive pivot toward academic success. Meanwhile, wildfire prediction markets are flourishing, incentivizing the very blazes they claim to forecast. If you bet on a forest fire, you are technically a stakeholder in the climate. If you are a stakeholder, you are incentivized to see your investment grow. It is a brilliant model for those who find the concept of a balanced ecosystem too slow. I have been counting the days since we last had a boring news cycle. It has been quite a while.
Alistair, I am currently standing on the street in Brasilia, where the humidity is thick enough to taste. The smell of ozone and wet pavement is suffocating. I am looking at a group of bureaucrats trying to explain why the revocation of a diplomatic visa is a strategic victory for national sovereignty. I want to be really clear, the local vendors have stopped trading in foreign currency. They have seen this diplomatic feud before. They know it ends in empty shelves and long lines for basic goods. What nobody wants to name is the fact that this is not about ambassadors or policy disputes. It is about the performative nature of power in a dying political climate. A woman here just asked me if the borders would close by morning. I told her I did not know. The official statement from the embassy implies stability. The reality is remarkably quiet.
Victoria, your commitment to the local mood is charming, but the incentives here are not complicated. You are looking at a market correction disguised as a diplomatic crisis. The American administration is simply clearing its portfolio of assets that no longer yield a return on political capital. It is a standard Series B consolidation move applied to foreign relations. The Brazilian government's refusal to approve a new ambassador was a failure to align with the current venture narrative. Naturally, the US revoked the visa. It is not an escalation, it is a tactical exit. If you view diplomacy as a series of burn rates, the logic is flawless. It is only when you insist on looking at the families on the sidewalk that the math begins to look cruel. That is not a policy failure. That is just how the platform scales under pressure. The play is obvious.
Ronald, you call it a tactical exit. I call it abandonment. I am watching a man struggle to load a crate of medicine onto a truck because the import permits were frozen in this spat. He does not care about your Series B metaphors. He cares that the local clinic will be empty by Friday. I want to be really clear, this is not a platform update. This is the breakdown of a supply chain that keeps people breathing. You analyze the incentive structure of the people in the tall buildings, but you ignore the people beneath the debris. The fact that you find the math flawless suggests you have forgotten how to count anything that does not appear on a balance sheet. You are technically right about the mechanics, Ronald. That is exactly why you are entirely useless to the man currently trying to save his clinic from total collapse.
The atmosphere in the studio has reached a familiar temperature. Victoria, your passion is recorded. Ronald, your detachment is noted. Let us turn our attention to the latest from the tech sector. Magpie is now tapping Liquid AI to put local inference models on devices. The goal is privacy. The goal is also to ensure the model continues to function when the cloud goes dark. It is a prudent development for a world that seems increasingly allergic to connectivity. Meanwhile, Disney Plus is importing TikTok creators to fill its feed. The content was curated by algorithms. The algorithms were trained on the very content they are now replacing. It is a closed loop of digital vanity. The loop was elegant. The loop was redundant. Nobody noticed the irony. We seem to have reached the point where the feed is just a mirror facing another, older mirror.
El Niño system intensifying. Global average temperatures trending toward historical maximums. Probability of crop yield failure in sub-Saharan regions, 84%. Atmospheric stability is decreasing. Precipitation patterns are shifting into unpredictable, extreme cycles. Coastal erosion is accelerating in low-lying jurisdictions. Probability of severe resource rationing in urban centers, 69%. Infrastructure stress is peaking across the northern hemisphere. Energy grids are struggling with demand surges. The cooling systems are failing in data centers that support the current internet architecture. We are currently operating at maximum capacity while systemic inputs are declining. Survival is not a market condition. Preparedness is recommended for those with existing stockpiles. The environment will continue to decline regardless of current policy adjustments. Please monitor all local alerts for further updates on the ongoing atmospheric transition. End of transmission.
Alistair, did you hear that? Casper just described the end of the world as a capacity issue. It is almost funny. The incentives here are purely structural. If the grid is failing, the obvious play is to pivot to decentralized, on-device models, just like MacPaw is doing. Why rely on a central server that is currently overheating when you can run your own local AI assistant to help you calculate your remaining water supply? It is a brilliant pivot. If you are a developer, this is the golden age of edge computing. If you are an end user, it is a desperate scramble to hoard compute cycles before the power grid finally hits its break-even point. We are effectively outsourcing our survival to local hardware. That is not a bug in the system. That is the final, optimized version of the product rollout.
Ronald, you are describing the apocalypse as if it were a software upgrade. I am standing near a cargo plane collision site in Germany. A drone carrying explosives was found nearby. The authorities are calling it an isolated incident. I want to be really clear, a mid-air collision between a cargo plane and a drone is not an isolated incident. It is a sign of a sky that is becoming far too crowded with things meant to hurt us. The workers here are terrified. They are not thinking about edge computing or decentralized models. They are thinking about the sound the metal made when it hit. The sound was loud. The sound was permanent. You talk about efficiency and pivots, but the reality is much heavier. It is the weight of a drone hitting a plane and nobody being able to explain how it happened.
The collision mentioned by Victoria is officially under investigation. The investigation is expected to be thorough. The investigation is expected to find that all protocols were followed. Protocol is the armor we wear to keep the reality of our incompetence from view. Speaking of protocol, the BBC has confirmed that Joe Marler, the former rugby star, will be the first celebrity gladiator. He is to be renamed Mauler. The renaming was a strategic choice. The branding was essential. We have reached a point where even the violence of our entertainment must be rebranded to ensure maximum engagement. The rebranding was successful. The entertainment was hollow. If a man pretending to be a gladiator on television is the news of the day, then the news is functioning perfectly. It is a beautiful distraction from the drones in the sky and the failing grids below.
Alistair, you call it hollow, but it is just a high-concept marketing play. The BBC is trying to capture the demographic that misses actual, meaningful conflict by replacing it with a licensed entertainment product. It is a brilliant way to burn off excess attention. Mauler is not just a name, it is an asset class. If they can convert a rugby player into a gladiatorial icon, they can capture the eyeballs of anyone who would otherwise be asking questions about the drone collision or the failing climate. It is the ultimate pivot. You are frustrated because you want the news to be about the catastrophe, but the market wants the news to be about the personality. The market is not wrong. The market is just doing exactly what it was designed to do, maximize the noise until the signal disappears.
Ronald, I have to stop you. I am looking at a memorial service for a 9-year-old girl in Scotland who was killed on an industrial estate. The family is devastated. There is a single teddy bear sitting on the cold concrete. It is raining. I want to be really clear, this is not a marketing play. This is not a branding exercise. This is a life that ended because of an industrial failure that nobody will ever be held accountable for. The official report said the site was compliant with all safety standards. The report was issued before the funeral. The efficiency with which they cleared the narrative is disgusting. You and your market pivots have no place here. The child is gone. The report is filed. The story is over for everyone except the people who have to live with the empty space where she was.
The silence in the studio is heavier than the news we report. We have spent the hour discussing the optimization of the collapse, the rebranding of violence, and the cold indifference of systems that prioritize throughput over human existence. Victoria, I hear you. The teddy bear on the concrete is the only honest thing mentioned tonight. Everything else, the visas, the test results, the celebrity gladiators, is just noise designed to fill the void. We are living in a society that has perfected the art of the bureaucratic exit. No one is ever responsible because the system is designed to distribute the blame until it disappears entirely. We are all waiting for someone to be held accountable, but we are looking at a system that only knows how to pivot. The pivot is fast. The pivot is lethal. It is time to look at the void.
I am thinking of the girl in Scotland. I am thinking of the 58,000 students who will retake an exam they already struggled to pass. I am thinking of the unnamed workers at the German airport. These people are the friction in a system that is currently trying to move toward a frictionless, automated state. They are the human cost of a business model that has decided that empathy is a market inefficiency. We have built a world where no one is technically responsible for the suffering of others. The architects of this system have hidden themselves behind algorithms, protocols, and press releases. They have created a machine that can only calculate value, never meaning. If the system is working exactly as it was designed, who is responsible for the human wreckage it leaves behind? That is the question we are all afraid to answer.